Good morning, students. Welcome back. So in the previous lectures we have discussed about the phylum nematodes and the classification of phylum nematodes. Okay, in this video lecture we'll be dealing with one of the major essay question from the general topic, that is pathogenic nematodes in man. So these are the 4 parasitic nematodes which you have to study, which is listed out here in this slide. And in the previous lecture we have discussed that the many nematode species are parasitic in humans and their domestic animals, and in many of the wild vertebrates, various invertebrates and plants also. And the plants, in plants also there are the external and internal parasites, which are usually the small size, and usually they make much loss for the agriculture. And there are the few examples for this plant nematodes, and we will just point out the few names. You just study the name of the 2 plant parasitic nematodes, that is Tylenculus trichini and Rhadophilus similis. So these are the 2 common type of parasitic plant nematodes. And apart from this, we will be just concentrating on the pathogenic nematodes in man. For you, for the examination point of view, these parasitic nematodes such as Eucheraria branchiophthi, Ascaris lumbricoides, and Cyclostoma duodenale, and Trichinella spiralis. So these are the 4 parasitic nematodes that you have to study in this current semester. These at least it is said that it is at least hundreds of nematode species parasitize the plants, and nearly 50 species parasitize man. Then in man, these parasites enters into the body through various food or contaminated water, mainly through the skin, bare skin, and which causes a serious illness, and sometimes it may result to death. So once again, to discuss, these are the 4 parasitic nematodes that you have to deal with in this semester. The first one, it is the Eucheraria branchiophthi, which is commonly called as a filarial worm, and it produces a disease called as a filariasis. Then the second one, it is the Ascaris lumbricoides. The common name is roundworm, and it causes a disease called as a ascariasis. The third one, it is Encyclostoma duodenale. It is commonly called as a hookworm, and it causes a disease called as a encyclostomiasis. And the fourth one, it is a Trichinella spiralis. It's called as a trichinia worm, commonly called as a trichinia worm, and it causes a disease called as a trichinosis. So you have to repeat these names of these parasites, and you have to study the scientific name. And you have to study the common name. This is a common name which is written in blue color, which is written in the black color. It is a scientific name, and this is the disease caused by this organism. It is a disease which is caused by these worms. So these all can be asked for 2 marks question. So you need not confused between these scientific names, between the scientific names of this parasitic form. And now in this video lecture we will continue with the first type of parasitic nematode, that is Eucheraria branchiophthi. And since these all 4 type of nematodes are parasitic, they will be having the certain adaptations to lead a parasitic mode of life. And we will just discuss, or we will just point out which are the parasitic adaptation, and these parasitic adaptation which we will discuss in detail in each of the types, each of these nematode types that you have to study. So first of all, since it is a parasite, it will be having the thick cuticle. So the thick cuticle, it is the first parasitic adaptation, that is a thick cuticle. Thick cuticle, that is the first parasitic adaptation. Then the second adaptation, it is a muscular pharynx. Muscular pharynx. A muscular pharynx. It's another parasitic adaptation. Then next parasitic adaptation is about the eggs laid by these parasites. In order to perpetuate themselves, they lay the large number of eggs and the size will be minute. And this egg will be having the thick covering, and so that these eggs are protected from the adverse condition. Then the next adaptation, it is anaerobic respiration. It is anaerobic respiration, anaerobic type of respiration which is seen in these parasites. That is, they are able to survive in an oxygen free environment. Okay, so that is the fourth adaptation. Then the fifth adaptation, it is that they have a osmotic adaptability. Osmotic adaptability, that is another adaptation. That is, these parasites facilitates themselves, or they lead a successful life even if the osmotic condition is different in the different surroundings that they thrive over. Actually, we will come into this in detail in the video lecture. Then the sixth adaptation is that some of them secretes anti-enzymes. So the anti-enzyme secreted by these parasites, that helps them to lead a good parasitic life. So some of these parasites secretes the anti-enzyme that act against the enzymes of the host. So that's again another adaptation. Then they are chemotactic. That is, a parasite such as a roundworm. They are guide them, or these roundworms are guided by the help of this chemotactic capacity. They lead, or they finally find the habitat inside the host, so that they are chemotaxis. That is another phenomenon exhibited by these parasites, chemotaxis. Then the next one, that is the eighth one, it is they have the most of these parasites, due to the lack of locomotion, the most of the nematode parasites can maintain the position of the habitat and compensate the lack of adhesive organs. So they can just maintain the position in the habitat in which they live. So that's the next adaptation. Then they are able to tolerate the extreme temperatures and desiccation. That is also another adaptation. Then in the case of the plant parasites, their stylet bearers are which helps to penetrate the host tissue. Then they inject the cellular contents through their stylets, and they absorb all the nutrients in the case of the plant nematodes. Okay, so these are some of the parasitic adaptations that are seen in these parasitic nematodes. Then we will just pass on to our point of interest, that is the first parasitic nematodes, that is Wuchereria branchofthi. This Wuchereria branchofthi, it commonly called as a filarial worm, is a parasitic nematodes which is spread by a mosquito vector, and it is one of the 3 parasites that causes of lymphatic filariasis. lymphatic filariasis, which is an infection which is caused in the lymphatic system by the filarial worm, and it affects over the 120 million people, primarily in the underdeveloped countries and the tropical and the subtropical countries. And if this infection is untreated, it can lead to the elephantiasis. You might have heard about the elephantiasis. In Malayalam, it is called as a Mandurogam nu parayum. Okay, so it's a serious disease, and this the filariasis, it is a term for a group of disease caused by this parasitic nematodes. This filariasis, which is caused by the nematodes that live in the human lymphatic system, they produces a lymphatic filariasis. The causative organism, the filarial worm, it is a Wuchereria branchiophyta, and if unnoticed, it can lead to elephantiasis, which is the end result of this disease. So that's some part of the epidemiology that we discussed. We will just see the organism in detail. So this common name of this Wuchereria branchiophyta, it is a filarial worm. It is called as a filarial worm, and you need not study this name, that is a branchiophyta filaria. In our country, this Wuchereria branchiophyta, it's commonly called as a filarial worm, and usually it is transmitted by the mosquito, or the vector for this Wuchereria branchiophyta is mosquitoes. And let's see the geographical distribution. So in geographical distribution, these parasites are observed widespread in the warm countries, and the countries like Africa and Asian countries, India, Malaya, and north to China. So these organisms are widely spread then into their habitat. This filarial worm inhabit the lymphatic vessels, that especially the lymph node of man and other vertebrate. And this microfilariae, or the larval form of this Wuchereria branchiophyta, will be seen in the peripheral blood vessels, and there is a periodical appearance of this larval forms in the peripheral blood vessels. That all thing we will be discussing in later. So when we say about the morphology of these worms, Wuchereria branchiophyta, we can see the adult form. Then there is a microfilarial form, that is the first larval stage of this Wuchereria branchiophyta. It is a microfilaria. Then there is a third larval stage, it is a filiform larvae. So that's a morphology of the various forms of this Wuchereria branchiophyta. So there is adult form, there is a larval stages, that is a microfilaria, and the filiform larvae. The adult worm, that is the adult form of Wuchereria branchiophyta, exhibit the sexual dimorphism. In this picture you can see this is the male Wuchereria and this is the female. They exhibit the sexual dimorphism. The adult worm, the female worm, it is a long, slender, and the smooth with the rounded ends. The both ends are rounded, and it has a slightly swollen anterior region, or the cephalic region, bearing the 2 rows of small papillae. And the male worm is about 2.5 to 4 centimeter in length, and about 1 or 0.1 millimeter in thickness. Both the worms are filiform in shape, that is both the ends are tapering. They are the creamy white in color, and they are the transparent nematodes. They appear like the long hair like structures. Okay, they are very thin. Then at the tail end of the male there are the 2 spicules. It is slightly curved. The tail end of a male, it is slightly curved, as you can see in this picture, and they have the two spicules, whereas as female it is about 8 to 10 centimeter length and 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter in thickness, and both the ends are tapering in the case of the female. Okay, that's all in this video lecture. Thank you.